Hello everyone, this is Thomas Wade, aka New Fate 26. First off, you might notice a couple of differences. I finally figured out how to download the videos that I wanted to examine, so yeah. Also, I'm trying a script, and hopefully that'll cut down the stuttering, pausing, and the like. That said, let's talk about free speech. This is Super Princess Tea Party. We'll be skipping the first minute of her video as it really has nothing to do with anything.
Here's the thing that you know what? We're going to start with a quiz. And some of you may remember this quiz from Silent Hill Shattered Memories because I'm a gigantic fucking nerd like that, sue me. And if you took that quiz, feel free to just transfer your answer to here. There is a princess who lives in a kingdom, and her father says, "I'm going to marry you off to this dude you don't know in another land. Deal with it." And she says, "No, I don't want to. You can't do that." And he's like, "Fuck you. I'm king. I do what I want." So she runs away. She leaves the palace. She runs straight into a pasture where there is a bull, and the bull tramples her and kills her. The question is, who is responsible for her death?
Well, honestly, no one as far as we can tell. That being said, however, we would need to examine the scenario more closely to make any real determination. But I'll let you continue before getting into that.
Is it the bull who trampled her? Is it the princess who ran into the pasture? Or is it the king who was forcing her into an unjust marriage?
And this is why. I hate to break it to you, but you only listed 3 of the 5 primary answers that could be interpreted from the scenario you're presenting us. 1. The bull that killed her. 2. The princess that placed herself in a situation that turned deadly. And 3. The king whose actions put her in a mindset that facilitated her death. You're forgetting 4. The man who owned the bull and or pasture. And 5. The universe, karma, fate, bad chance, sheer unfortunate luck. Now, of these options, the king is the least culpable. All he did was put the princess into a situation that led to her placing herself into a life or death scenario. But everyone else involved, we need to know more. How limited was this woman's education? Maybe she didn't even know what the hell a bull is. Was the pasture close to the castle? Are we talking gated or free range? Were there signs to warn of the danger? If there were, could she even read them? Did this bull have an owner, or was it wild? Did this pasture belong to someone, or had it been abandoned and fallen into disrepair? Are we talking about your standard dumb bull, or did it have thoughts and feelings of its own, and thus could act under its own initiative? And that's just off the top of my head. The answer to these questions affect blame and culpability, and need to be taken into account.
Feel free to leave your comment in the below your answer. I'd like to know your answer for that, because it tells you a lot about your feelings about justice and your feelings about people in general. Free speech is one of those really hard topics to talk to people about because people are usually so incredibly fucking polarized. There's this sort of delusion about absolute free speech that a lot of people have right now, and I honestly think it comes from a place of like sort of naivety.
I'll be honest here. You're going to have a hard sell on this idea. Also, I think you just fundamentally do not get those of us who value free speech, especially those of us who consider it to possibly be even more important than, say, a right to live. But I'll get into that after you present your argument.
But it comes from like this weird sort of closed ideas about their speech. Like it's really, they seem very, very concerned that people will not let them have their ideas. They don't really care if other people get to say what they want. I mean, they do, but they don't, right?
And here we disagree. Everyone should be able to say what they want, whether we agree or disagree. From you to Christy Winters, to Amos Yee, to Richard Spencer, to Jaden Smith, we all have the right to say and believe what we want.
not in action. They say it in words, like they care, but in action they don't actually. That's been my experience, at least.
Okay. An advocate for free speech advocates for all speech to be free. This includes topic and words that a particular individual might be uncomfortable with. What I find amusing is that most people seem to believe that that means people should feel free to express their opinions without being challenged. The right to free speech and the right to disagree are intrinsically tied together. Everyone can say what they want, and tied to that, the audience has the right to seek out or deny the speakers as they want. Anyone who tries to limit those two rights is limiting free speech.
I think the thing that we really need to acknowledge is that words have power.
Agreed. More importantly, the ideas behind those words have power.
Words have a tremendous amount of power, and perhaps it's growing up on the digital, in digital spaces where words and language seem like a infinite currency that just, we can say whatever, throw it into the ether and it means nothing.
And here I have to disagree. Words always have meaning, whether those words have meaning for just yourself or whether it's for yourself and your audience. Words, and as I said, the ideas behind them, always have meaning and power. It's simply a question of how much meaning and power, and that can only come across from the core idea in those words, the effectiveness of the rhetoric, and the receptiveness of the audience.
What we're refusing to acknowledge, I think, a lot of the time, is that every idea you've ever thought, every feeling, the way you perceive the world from your first moments, and have been brought onto you by words. They've been put in your mind and in your heart or whatever from words told to you by your parents, from teachers, from artists, singers who incredibly inspired you with their songs, or your church members, those people. Words shaped your mind. They shaped everything you think about your perception of everything. It was created by words.
Again, we agree on the power of words, or the power of ideas that those words symbolize. And again, the strength of effectiveness contains, but is not limited to, the idea itself, the power of the rhetoric, and the receptiveness of the audience.
What I think also people don't seem to want to acknowledge, these like free speech, I can't possibly call them extremists, like perhaps free speech absolutists, is that that there's no downside to it. There seems to be this naive idea that like free speech is all sunshine and teddy bears and like rainbow smiles and marshmallow dreams. It's not.
You're right. Free speech is not pretty. It's full of the mud and dirt and shit that we fling at each other, and that's why it matters. The idea that those of us who believe that free speech is perhaps the most important right of all and not know the basic flaws of our advocacy is laughable. In a world where free speech reigns supreme, people's feelings will get hurt. A lot of people will be forced to battle over their own ideas. And that's a good thing. It's only when you struggle and challenge yourself that you grow and learn as a being. To me, the scariest thing that can happen to an idea is that it becomes a sacred cow and that it becomes untouchable. I remember a quote. I'm not sure who said it. There are no absolutes, except that there are none, and even that I can't guarantee is an absolute. If anyone knows what that's from, feel free to let me know. That's been bugging me for a couple of weeks now.